Councilmember Charlie Tigert.
Let us pray. Our Father, we stand before you in this holiest of seasons, asking for your blessings. We thank you for the opportunity to serve the citizens of this great city and to live in this state and country where freedom is foremost. We ask that you protect our soldiers, both home and abroad, who are protecting those freedoms. And we ask that you lay your healing hand on those citizens that need your assistance. We ask these things in your name. Amen.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Freedom and Passover. Good work.
Without objection, we'll suspend the calling of the roll and ask the clerk to record the names of the members present throughout the meeting. Is there a motion for the adoption of the minutes of the April 14th? Is second? With no objections, the minutes will stand approved. Madam Clerk, are there any messages from the mayor?
No, ma'am, there are not.
I would like to call your attention to a letter that is on your desk from Chairman Berry from the Budget and Finance Committee that outlines the dates of the budget hearings. I would encourage everyone to attend as many of these as you possibly can. Councilmember Berry.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I wanted to just take a moment of personal privilege and introduce Max Schirmer, who is behind us. He is from Magdeburg, Germany, which is our sister city. He is studying politics and wanted to come down and see how we do things down here. So good luck.
Madam Vice Mayor, on a point of personal privilege, I just noticed that one of the scouts in my scout troop is here this evening. Anthony Stewart, if you'll stand up. Anthony is working toward getting his Eagle accomplished, and I'd ask all of Nashville to take note of him and help him to get it done by July when he turns 18. Right, Anthony? Okay. He's working on his communications badge, and that's one of the things that he has to do. No pressure at all. And Bobby Stewart, if you'll stand up. This is our Scoutmaster for Troop 4, and I really appreciate both these guys. Thank you.
Councilmember Wilhoit.
Well, since everyone took a personal privilege, I want to take one as well because we need to lift up our youth. I have Mrs. Zoe Smith, who's here with us tonight. Some of the council members has met Ms. Smith. She's here to learn about good government. She's a student at Ezel Harding School, and she says she wants to be the Metro Council representative for District 29. Let's give her a grand applause. Thank you.
We're now at elections and confirmations. Councilman Birch.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. First, rules and confirmations considered a reappointment to the Civil Service Commission, Mr. Steve Corbett. The committee recommended approval, 9-4-0 against, and I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Next, we considered an appointment to the Employee Benefits Study and Formulating Board, and that appointment was Mr. Bruce Sullivan. The committee recommended approval, 9-4-0 against, and I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Next, the appointment for Mrs. Gail Ray was deferred.
Okay.
Next, rules and confirmation considered reappointment of Mr. Charles McTorrey to the Board of Parks and Recreation. Committee recommended approval, 9-4-0 against, and I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilman.
Next, committee considered reappointment of Reverend Judy Cummings to the Planning Commission. Committee recommended approval, 9-4-0 against, and I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Councilman Birch.
Next, we considered the appointment of Mr. Keith Simmons to the Public Library Board. Committee recommended approval, 9-4-0 against, and I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Next, committee considered the appointment of Ms. Brenda Sanderson to the Traffic and Parking Commission. The committee recommended approval 9-4-0 against, and I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
And the rest of our business will be in the...
Okay. When I call your name, please stand and remain standing. Steve Corbett, Bruce Sullivan, Charles McTorrey, Judy Cummings, Keith Simmons, Brenda Sanderson. Thank you for your willingness to volunteer your time and expertise. We are now at bills on public hearing. RS 2011-1608 exempts S&T Grill located at 3101 Clarksville Pike from the minimum distance requirements for obtaining a beer permit. Councilman Harrison.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Move public hearing, please.
Please raise your hand if you're in support. Thank you. Please raise your hand if you're in opposition. Seeing no one in opposition, does anyone in support wish to speak? Okay. I declare the public hearing closed. Councilman Harrison.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report, please.
Councilmember Langster.
Public safety approved 5-4-0 against.
Thank you. Councilman.
Thank you. I'd like to move for approval with a brief comment.
Have a motion and a second. Councilman?
Okay, based on the fact that S&T Grill has met all the legal requirements, I move that we approve.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next are resolutions. RS 2011-1609 sets the date and time for the State of Metro address. Councilman Birch.
Rules and confirmation recommended approval 9-4-0 against. Move for approval.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1610 confirms the appointment of Francis S. Guest to serve on the Board of Directors of the Convention Center Authority for the remainder of the unexpired term of Darrell A. Drumright following his resignation. Councilman Birch.
Rules and confirmation recommended approval 9-4-0 against. I move for approval.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Mr. Guest, would you please stand up and let us recognize you? Thank you for your willingness to serve in that capacity. Next is RS 2011-1611. Approves an amendment to a lease agreement between Metro and Greensboro 1 LP for parking for the Police Department's Domestic Violence Program. Councilmember Gilmore.
Committee report.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance approved 12-4-0 against.
Councilman Todd.
Planning and Zoning approves 7-4-0 against.
Councilmember Langster.
Thank you. Public safety approved 5-4-0 against.
Councilmember Gilmore.
Move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1612 approves a contract between the Metro Board of Health and the State Health Department to provide for laboratory services for testing particulate matter and other environmental tests. Councilman Forcom. Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4-0 against.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospital vote approved 5-4-0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1613 approves a contract between the Metro Board of Health and Meharry Medical College to provide internship opportunities for students. Councilman Forcom.
Committee reports.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4-0 against.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospital vote approved 5-4-0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1614 approves a contract and amendments to the contract between the Metro Board of Health and Vanderbilt University for the Health Department's participation in the Tuberculosis Trials Consortium. Councilmember Berry.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospital voted to approve 5-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against. I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1615 approves a state grant from the State Department of Environment and Conservation to the Metro Parks and Recreation Department for the Riverside Drive Connector Trail. Councilman Cole.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Committee reports, please.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against.
Councilman Maynard.
Parks approve 7-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilman Cole.
Thank you. With that, I would move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1616 accepts a donation from the Community Foundation to the Metro Historical Commission to purchase plaques for the annual Preservation Awards program. Councilmember Berry.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Todd.
Planning and Zoning approved 7-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against. I move approval.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1617 approves a contract between the State Department of Transportation and the Metro Public Works Department for a traffic incident response system along arterial roadways in Davidson County. Councilman Hodge.
Committee report.
Councilmember Berry.
And Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against.
Councilman Hodge.
Public Works approved 6-4, 0 against. Move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1618 appropriates $12,143,100 from the General Fund Reserve Fund for the purchase of equipment and building repairs for various departments. Councilmember Berry.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Todd.
Planning and Zoning approved 7-4, 0 against.
Councilman Toller.
Personnel approved 7-0.
Councilman Maynard.
Parks Committee approved 7-4, 0 against.
Councilman Forcom.
Health and Hospital vote approved 5-4, 0 against.
Councilman Ryman.
Convention Tourism Committee approved 8-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Wilhoit.
Coles Farm and Farmers Market Committee approved 4-4 and 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
With all committee reports in, Budget and Finance was 12-4, 0 against. I move approval.
Second.
Having a motion and a second. Councilmember Langster. Did I not call on you for your committee?
No, ma'am.
I sincerely apologize. Okay. What was your committee report?
Committee report for Public Safety was 5-4, 0 again.
Thank you. There were just so many. Councilmember Berry.
I move approval.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. RS 2011-1619 authorizes the Department of Law to settle Metro government's property damage claim against Taxi USA of Tennessee, LLC. Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against, and I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Is there a motion for approval of all bills on introduction and first reading? We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. Now it bills on second reading. BL 2011-869 amends the Metro Code to readopt the juvenile curfew. Councilman Holland.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee reports.
Councilmember Langster.
Public Safety approved 5-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilman Holland.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. As many of you know, the juvenile curfew extended on June 30, 2010 due to a sunset provision, and this just reinitiates that ordinance without a sunset. And with that, I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-870 amends the Metro Code related to public notice for open meetings of the Transportation Licensing Commission. Councilmember Langster.
Committee report.
Councilman Birch.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Rules and confirmation recommend approval 10-4, 0 against.
Thank you. Councilmember Langster.
I'd like to move for approval, and could I ask Mr. Cooper, Attorney Cooper, if he could give a brief explanation?
This ordinance will allow the Transportation Licensing Commission to advertise the notice of its public hearings by means other than publication in a newspaper of general circulation. They would be allowed to post it on their webpage. The commission, state law does not require public hearings for the commission. That is solely a metro function, and the council can set the parameters for notice. So the intent of this is to save the commission the cost of advertising in the newspaper.
And that cost is around $2,000 to $3,000?
According to Director McQuistion, yes.
Thank you. With that explanation, I move approval.
Councilmember Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to vote for this. The committee had a good conversation with it, but I think it's something everybody does need to know, that this is the first time in the history of this particular government that a public hearing of some sort is not going to be advertised in the newspaper. And I suspect that probably will happen as time goes along, that it will go out of the newspaper. But this is the first one, so just kind of want to be aware of it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-871 approves a wire and cable license agreement between Metro and Nashville and Eastern Railroad. Councilmember Moore.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Hodge.
Public Works approved 6-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Berry.
Budget and Finance voted to approve 12-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Moore.
I move for approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-872 approves a memorandum of understanding between the Mayor's Office of Emergency Management, Clear Channel Communications, Inc., and Warning Systems, Inc. regarding the dissemination of emergency alert messages. Councilmember Langster.
Thank you. Committee reports, please.
Councilman Todd.
Planning and Zoning approved 7-4, 0 against.
Councilman Hodge.
Public Works approved 6-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Langster.
With all the reports in, I move approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-874 bans and relocates and accepts the sanitary sewer line and easement for properties traversed by Richland Creek, known as Rio Stone Quarry, and the state of Tennessee. Councilmember Baker.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Todd.
Planning and Zoning approved 7-4, 0 against.
Councilman Hodge.
Public Works approved 6 in favor, 0 against.
Councilmember Baker.
With that, I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-875 abandons a sanitary sewer line and accepts a fire hydrant assembly for property located at 420 Donaldson Pike. Councilmember Claiborne.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Todd.
Planning and Zoning approved 7-4, 0 against.
Councilman Hodge.
Public Works approved 6-4, 0 against.
Councilman Claiborne.
Move for approval.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-876 abandons a water main and easement and a sanitary sewer and easement for properties located at 1220, 1230, 1246, and 1250 Robinson Road and Robinson Road unnumbered for the Old Hickory Skilled Nursing Facility. Councilman Jernigan.
Committee report.
Councilman Todd.
Planning and Zoning approved 7-4, 0 against.
Councilman Hodge.
Public Works approved 6-4, 0 against.
Councilman Jernigan.
Move approval.
Second. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-877 abandons the sanitary sewer main and easement and accepts a relocated sewer main and easement for properties located at 219-221 31st Avenue North and at Long Boulevard unnumbered. Councilmember Langster.
Committee reports, please.
Councilman Todd.
Planning and Zoning approved 7-4, 0 against.
Councilman Hodge.
Public Works approved 6-4, 0 against.
Councilmember Langster.
Move for approval, please.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Next is BL 2010-808, amends the Metro Code to allow members of the Metro Council to act as non-compensated representatives for constituents before Metro government departments, agencies, boards, and commissions. Councilmember Wilhoit.
Committee reports, please.
I think it's already been approved by rules.
I move for approval.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. BL 2011-859 will be deferred. Amends the Metro Code to allow persons owning property in Davidson County to utilize the Metro Solid Waste Convenience Centers at the same fee charged to Davidson County residents. It will be deferred by rule. Next is BL 2011-865, approves an additional extension to the initial term of the cable television franchise of Comcast pending completion of the franchise renewal process. Councilman Toler.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. I believe all committee reports are in, and I move approval.
Have a motion and a second. Councilmember Wilhoit.
I'd like to be recorded as abstaining, please.
So noted. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. BL 2011-866 approves an agreement between Metro Government and Hospital Corporation of America for construction of a new public health center. Councilmember Berry.
With all committee reports in, I would like to defer it.
1 or 2 meetings.
Because I just would. Deferral for 1 meeting.
The deferral is to allow the capital improvements budget amendment resolution to be filed and considered at the same time.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Okay. 1 meeting deferral passes. Next is RS 2011-1607, opposes any state legislation that would change the Metro Mayor, Vice Mayor, and our council terms of office to coincide with November partisan elections. Councilman Maynard.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. With this being approved by the Rules Committee, I stand with 29 other colleagues as sponsors of this resolution, basically stating that we believe that the citizens of Davidson County should determine the schedule and date and time for elections here in Davidson County, that we are the proper body to consider it, to debate it, to come up with solutions to issues that face us. I ask that you vote yes on this resolution to send a clear message that we should be the ones to determine when our elections are scheduled. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Motion.
I have a motion for approval.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Councilman Gatto.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. As everyone knows, I'm at the center of this controversy. And let me explain why I filed the bill over at the state. We have all lived through this redistricting, which has been somewhat disorganized. Although we got it done, we still have the issue of the folks that pull the petitions because we didn't have an orderly process from the beginning. This has happened 3 times in the last roughly 50 years here at Metro. And at some point, I looked at this and said, this council really needs to try to do something. The problem is the only option this council has at this time is a charter amendment, and it's too late to bring a charter amendment during this term. Some of us will not be here next time. Some of us may be here, and some of us may not. So, I mean, we really don't know. And I wanted to try to establish some continuity between this council and the next. So I filed a bill. I furnished everybody on the council at least a couple of times a copy of my proposal, and not one time did I have a council member call me to talk about my proposal. And I'm disappointed at that. I would have been more than happy to discuss it and talked about it and maybe deferred it. But what my original plan was to file this bill at the legislature and then defer it, get it through committees, and then defer it to 2012, or maybe even leave it on committee and just defer it over to 2012 to give the council time to look at this and work on it. And that would have provided some continuity between this year and next year with the new council. But unfortunately, nobody ever came to ask me what my plans were or why I was doing this. And so, you know, here we are today. Where we are at this point is this bill is at the state, and it has passed out of state and local government today, and it's ready to go to the floor of the House. There are 2 amendments on this bill, and the reason I can no longer roll this bill to next year is because the second amendment is not involved with Nashville, it's involved with Memphis, and it's got to be passed this year. So it is my intent to withdraw this amendment from the bill and not pass it in the House this year, because I agree with you. Everybody in here and the next council needs to have an opportunity to talk about this and discuss it. I hope that my proposal will get some attention, because quite frankly, I think this is a pretty good way to do it. And you pick up 2 additional benefits, really 3. One is that you save about $500,000 every 4 years because you save 1 election. You also will get the local voter turnout up, and it's pretty dismal. It's pretty dismal for some of the districts here, because we have some council members that were elected by 800 votes, and they're representing a district with 16,000 people in them. So that's a benefit. There's another benefit we haven't talked about yet. There has been some talk that there's some conflict associated with me serving both places. I find it interesting that several others, there's even one sitting council member today that did that for several years, and I'm serving with at least 4 other Davidson County delegation members that did the very thing, and there was no problem until I did it. Well, if you do it the way I have proposed to do this and move it to the years when you're electing the president, will also correspond with the state elections, and so you fix that problem as well. You won't have the problem of people serving dual roles. So if you want to go ahead and move this forward and pass it, that's fine, but I give you my word, I will not run this bill this year. And having said that, thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Mitchell. Councilmember Wilhoit.
Yes, thank you. I want to just first say a couple of things that my colleague just a moment ago just spoke. He stated that in reference to how the process went with the Planning Commission as they went through the redistricting, it was somewhat unorganized. I tend to disagree with that. I believe that the Planning Commission did an excellent job in receiving the comments from the people we represent and did the best that they could after they received those comments to give us the plan A, B, and C, and to give us the opportunity to speak on each one of those plans. That was something that I think that they did very well, and I applaud them for it. But I also want to stand and say that I stand with my other 29 colleagues in reference to why this should not occur now. Yes, Councilmember Gatto, I want to correct that I did go and talk with him about his reason, and I think that he has some very valid reasons. I felt they were quite valid. I think I told Mr. Gatto, this is one of the rare times I actually agree with him on some things. I mean, to me, it was not a partisan issue. It was nonpartisan as far as I'm concerned, but I did want to hear his concern on why did he bring forward this bill, and he shared that information with me. He really was actually trying to move forward and try to think about what we had gone through as far as the redistricting and the cost it is costing taxpayers. But you know, there is a thing called separation of power, and we've been given some of those powers by the state. And part of those powers we have right now as we're sitting here to legislate. That is what we were designed to do. That's what we were established to do, to legislate. And we have those powers now, and we need to continue to keep those powers and move forward in representing our constituents. By removing that opportunity with passing this legislation that Mr. Gatto has presented, it would take away those powers. And I think that we do very well in representing our constituents. I think that there are situations where they have been inconvenienced, unfortunately, through the redistricting of this process. But this council member, we know that every 10 years, redistricting is going to come. As long as the census does their counting every 10 years, it's going to happen. Just a little inconvenience for a balance of representation. That's not too bad. So with that being said, I'm very glad that I did sign the legislation, but I would like us to take a look at how we can go forward and do better in reference to the redistricting when it comes up in the next 10 years. And I thank you for your support in letting this resolution pass through. Thank you.
Councilman Holland.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Previous question.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor of previous question, please say aye. Opposed, no. Previous question passes. All in favor of 1607, please say aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Sorry, I've just been advised we have to have a roll call because it is a resolution. Madam Clerk.
Ayes 29, noes 5, 3 abstentions.
Motion passes. Next is RS 2011-1620, requests the Metro Board of Education to create additional academic magnet schools or abolish the magnets program altogether. Councilman Crafton.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Committee report.
Councilmember Gilmore.
The Education Committee deferred by rule, 6-4 and 0 against.
Thank you, Councilman Crafton.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I'm going to defer this. I want to do a little bit more research, but I wanted to take just a brief opportunity to...
It's deferred by rule.
Yeah. Can I talk about it just a second?
Is there any objection?
That's okay. Don't worry about it. That's fine.
Okay. It's deferred by rule.
That's not important.
Is there a motion to adjourn? All in favor, please say aye. We are adjourned.